Shabbat Tov, everyone. So this is a shiur on Parashat Shelach, and very interestingly, we are talking about sending spies or explorer to explore the land of Israel. The story of the parasha is pretty known. Moshe Rabbeinu sends 12 spies to explore the land and to report to the Jews how great the land is. Unfortunately, they are coming fearful of conquering the land, and that fear penetrates and permeates within the Jewish people, and therefore God decides this generation is not fit to get into the land. Their children will. The general overall feeling reading this parasha is pretty much one single line. We are reading Parashat Shelach that is all about the fear or having the courage to inherit and take possession of the land God gave the Jewish people. In the time of Moses, the Jews were fearful, and God did not like that. But in his promises, in the moment of his disappointment, God said, I will make this nation even stronger and mightier than it is. So he fears not to take possession of the land. And the overall feeling with the current events that we have cannot be another than looking at the Jewish people today and feeling we are making the Tikun of the generation of Moshe Rabbeinu. We are taking possession of the land without fear, with courage, with gratitude to God, thanking him for the miracle, thanking him for the courage, looking at our enemies straight in the eyes and saying, this is our land. We will take it, we will hold it, we will keep it, and nothing will deter us from it. This is likely the most important message that comes out of this parasha. Now, another point that is interesting in that parasha is that right at the end, when God speaks about the fear of not conquering the land, in the end it says, but when you will settle in the land, and God gives us two commandments. The first mitzvah is to do the challah, the mitzvah of the challah. And the second mitzvah is to wear the tzitzit. These tzitzit that we have over here, or the talit, the big talit, the shal that we wear in synagogue or when we put on tefillin or whenever, those are mitzvot that have been given in this parasha and in association with the courage of holding the land. And therefore, I would probably say this. We are living a historical moment, extraordinary moment for the Jewish people and for the entire region, and having repercussion around the world. I invite every Jewish woman this Shabbat, this week, to make the mitzvah of challah. If you can bake a challah yourself and make the bracha of baking the challah, taking out a little piece of dough, do it. And if you can't, buy one and bless on the challah for Shabbat. And every man who has an opportunity and ability to wear the tzitzit or the talit, do it this Shabbat. This is a very special mitzvah in relationship with the courage of holding our land. Shabbat Shalom. Now, looking into the details of the psukim, we will see extraordinary relationship and connection between the current events and the parasha. First thing is an interesting pasuk that we have in the beginning of the parasha, where Moshe tells the 12 meraglim to see how the land is, and also to inspect the people living in the land. And Moshe says, search for one signal to see if they are strong or not. Do they live in fortress or in open field? Are they hiding behind walls, or they are fearless and walking freely? And what is interesting is that this week we see a clear opposite picture, where we have the Iranians hiding in bunkers, Iranian leaders hiding in bunkers, while we have the Israeli leaders walking around in the streets, having the prime minister and other ministers of the government walking around in the streets. This is a clear reverse prophecy where, in biblical terms, Israel is mighty and fearless, and the enemies who want to deter us out of this land are fearful. Now, another point that we see is the way Moshe Rabbeinu phrases to define the land, whether it's good or bad. And he says, check if the land is good or is bad. Is it a fat or a skinny land? It produces or doesn't produce, in other words. And then it requires the following thing. Strengthen up, get courageous, and take from the fruits of the land. And those days were the beginning of maturity of the grapes. Now, what does that mean, and what do we need to know how the grape were at that time? And commentary are explaining the following. The grapes were not fully ripe yet. It was not a time where we were able to fully appreciate the goodness of the land, but we were able to start and see the potential of it. We were able to start and see the goodness and sweetness of its fruits. And we are definitely in those times now. We start to see the blessing of the land of Israel. Yes, there are still a lot of challenges, but the blessing is already apparent. And in order to be grateful for those and not sinking in the challenging side, we need to strengthen up, fill our hearts with courage and hope and prayer and faith in ourselves as well, not only in God, but also in ourselves, because God has faith in us. We should have faith in ourselves as well and appreciate the goodness of that land already now. Another point that we have in this parasha is on the return of the explorer when they are coming and giving the report about the land. And that there's something interesting there. First of all, they're coming and speak about the land, and they say the land is great, Eretz Zavat Chalav Udvash, a land of milk and honey. And they present the beautiful fruits. They are praising the land. But then they are going to speak about the people of the land, and they are becoming fearful. And one of the things they say is, we were looking at ourselves in comparison to them, and we felt like grasshopper. These guys were giants. And they looked at us as grasshoppers as well. And the commentary are pointing out the following. Why did the people of the land then look at these spies as grasshoppers, as little insignificant grasshoppers? Because they looked at themselves like that. When people are afraid of themselves, they generate the same feeling by others. People fear someone else's feeling. And so when we are today projecting might, power, and courage, what do we see? We see people looking at us with the same feelings. And this, again, coming back to our first topic, we are this week achieving the Tikun of the generation of Moshe Rabbeinu. Wherever they fell, we are rising up. The generation that God promised in our parasha, that He will create a mightier and stronger generation in the Jewish people. It feels that we are in that generation. And we will see that over and over again. Another point in the parasha, after the Jews were scared of coming in, we see that Moses tells God, don't kill them. Because if not, nations of the world will say, is the God of Israel not capable of bringing his nation back to its land? He's able to take them out of Egypt, but not to bring them back to its land. Today, an enormous amount of people, Jews and non-Jews alike, are looking at the return of the Jews to the land of Israel as a God act. And this godly act is being challenged. A lot of pushback against it. And the big question is the God of Israel will stand? Will the Jewish people stand up to the challenge? Back then, we had Moshe Rabbeinu interceding for us, praying for us, and for forgiveness and pardon. And one of the most beautiful prayers ever mentioned in the Bible is in our parasha, Shelach. We are actually mentioning these prayers in every fast, in every special day, imploring God. We are mentioning these specific words in our parasha. And in the end, God promises the following. I swear, says God, that the glory of God, the glory of the Almighty, the glory of God of Israel, will radiate and shine in the entire land. These are definitely the fulfillment of this prophecy. We are not only holding that land, but the glory of God is shining throughout the region, beyond our borders. And with your permission, there is one last point I'd like to mention. In every time of challenges, there's always fear, and people will express fears, and that's okay, as long as it does not become the overruling feeling. In that time, after the Jews expressed their fear, and they were condemned to stay in the desert for 40 years, a little group decided, so bad, we need to get up and conquer the land. And so they took their own initiative, and they went and conquered up the land. But that was not with godly advice. That was against God's advice and against Moses' advice. And so what happened is that they got completely defeated. And the Bible is explicit in mentioning the following. The Ark of Covenant and Moses did not accompany them. They stayed among the Jews who stayed in the camp. And those who left the camp got defeated. And now some people may say, we are not like those blazed by God. We are like those Jews who took their own initiative against the Torah, against God, God forbid, saying something like that. But there is a proof, another one, historical proof, that we are on a good side. And here is the proof. The day that attack from Israel on Iran, a preventive attack, started, was the day that the Jews around the world read the only verse in the entire Torah that specifies the blessing and the prayer of the Ark of Covenant going to war. The first verse of last Friday, when we started that campaign, Rising Lion, was the prayer of Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, praying as the Ark of Covenant will start the march toward the conquest or battle. And the prayer will be the following: Kuma Hashem, raise up God, stand up God, and reveal yourself. V'yafutzu oivecha, and your enemies shall scatter around. V'yanusu mipanecha, and they should flee and run away in front of you. This was the verse that we read all around the world the day the Rising Lion operation started. And so we know for certain the Ark of Covenant is with us. The prayer of its victory is with us. And Israel will come out of it victorious. Shabbat Shalom.